Desperate times call for desperate measures. A person constrained by outside forces is like an animal backed into a corner willing to do anything to make room. People who work in commission-based sales understand this pressure all too well because of the nature of their duties. To make money, they're responsible for working their leads, meeting with customers, and closing those customers on a consistent basis. If they can't do that regularly, they don't eat. If it's been a long stretch, then their job comes into question. Having that knowledge, the salesperson will either try harder or bite the bullet and cheat to secure their spot. Like how Wells Fargo employees opened about 3.5 million fake accounts based on a sales standard of 8 financial products per customer encouraged by their former CEO, or else they lose their jobs. Pressuring a sales force to achieve an unrealistic goal when the leads are subpar, when a company's strategy necessitates making the sale by any means necessary, or when there's little to no support from management is a recipe for disaster. Which is the predicament for the sales team in the '92 film Glengarry Glen Ross, directed by James Foley and written by David Mamet. The film focuses on the 4-man sales staff experiencing a dry spell in closing. As a result, the men must participate in a sales contest in which anyone placing lower than second is rewarded with termination. The film shows the salesmen Levene, Moss, and Roma commit desperate actions by working outside of standard practices to accomplish their goal and how their tactics set them up for failure.
I closed the cocksucker. Get the job! Put me on the board, John!
Sheldon Levene is the eldest and most experienced salesman in the office. As he recalls the years he's been on top, he attributes his recent failures to a streak of bad luck.
Bad luck, that's all it was. I pray in your life you never find that it runs in streaks. Oh boy, that's what it's doing, that's all it does, streaks. I pray that it misses you, and that's all I have to say.
If it were only him affected by his lack of success, it'd be okay. Even if his pockets are empty, there's always another day to try and fill them. But he gets no such luxury. Because his daughter is hospitalized, the buck is passed to him to take care of her medical bills, which becomes additional pressure for him to succeed. Out of desperation, Levene pulls every trick in the book to close a sale. One of those tricks being he overloads the words he uses to hide the reason for his visit. For example, when Levene arrives at the Spanos home picking up where he left off from an earlier call, he delivers his verbose pitch about investment opportunities just to say,
to promote a sales plan, you see. A plan to present our investment opportunities at Rio Rancho to the public. Well, I said, hell, let me save you the $230 and pass the savings along to the investors. Now, my people immediately said, whoa, how do you do that? I said, you take something this good, you go to a man, has invested in the past, you go to him direct and offer the money to him.
I have land for sale. But it doesn't stop there. He begs and bargains with Williamson for a better lead after he finishes his last cold call of the night. He tries to big up his past sales success.
Look at the sheets. Look at the sheets. 1987, 88, 89, 6 months in 89. Who's on top?
Roma.
Under him.
Moss.
Oh, bullshit. Bullshit, John! April to September, it's me. It's no fucking Moss.
Complains about the lackluster quality of the leads, bribes Williamson with 10% of what he makes, and goes as low as to give him the "if I had the power I did in the past, your job is gone" speech.
I gotta tell you something, fella. It wasn't so long ago. I just pick up the phone and I call Murray. I got you a job. You know? Hey, Murray, the kid is burning my ass. Shelley, he's gone. You are gone before I'm back from lunch.
But all of Levene's efforts went down the drain because his boss is completely indifferent on whether he sinks or swims. But on the next day, he feels like $1 million after closing an $84,000 sale with the Nyborgs. The way he commanded Williamson to put his name and earnings on the board, shared how his close went down with Roma, and read Williamson the riot act for not helping Roma, anyone would believe Levene broke his cycle of bad luck and deserved to be righteously indignant with his boss.
You are a shithead, Williamson.
Can't think on your feet. You ought to keep your mouth closed. Can you hear me? I'm talking to you. Can you hear me?
But it's revealed after his diatribe that he was the one who broke into the office, stealing the leads, and the $84,000 sale he got was a sham.
They're nuts.
You want to call the bank, Shelley? I called them. I called them 4 months ago when we first got the lead. The people are insane. They just like talking to salesmen.
Most would call Levene's actions a pathetic showing for a salesman. What led him to make these choices are his dry spell, the pressure from his daughter being in the hospital, and because he's wanting.
You can't play in the man's game, you can't close them, and go home and tell your wife your troubles.
His desperation got the best of him, so he decided to work with Moss, risking his freedom just so he can get a win under his belt.
The rich get richer, that's the law of the land.
Moss is the most frustrated member of the sales team. Throughout the narrative, he constantly takes umbrage with the office's business process, spitting nothing but venom at his office manager Williamson whenever he acts as a gatekeeper to his success. In the first 5 minutes of the film, Moss expresses to Williamson how the leads he has are too weak to close, and because of the override he gets as a manager, he should support him and the rest of the staff.
Baby, I can't make a goddamn dollar with these leads, and you're killing my ass on the street.
I'm sorry you aren't
Yes, well, that's very cute, but you're running this office like a bunch of bullshit. You're on an override. You make money, we make money.
The plea doesn't go over so well since he has to attend a sales training just to be barked at by Mitch and Murray's trainer, Blake. And the only two takeaways he got from it was Blake makes an astronomical amount of money compared to the pittance he can collect, and that he should be fired. These new and lingering irritations amount to Moss concocting a plan to steal the leads from the office. But any smart man knows not to commit the crime themselves lest they love the fit of an orange jumpsuit, which is where sales experience comes into play. Who better to convince than the person who feels as though they're automatically on the chopping block despite their efforts? So he starts working on Aaron now, inviting him on his prospecting routes, sharing the do's and don'ts of working his leads.
And I'll tell you what else, don't ever try to sell an Indian. They like to talk to salesmen, something that lonely. I don't know, they like to feel superior. Never bought a fucking thing. I don't know. Come down the line. Doctors, lawyers, Indians.
Reminiscing on the time they were on a hot streak until their parent company screwed the pooch on the land they sold.
Remember when we were selling Glen Ross farms? Didn't we sell a bunch of that?
Yeah, they came in, you know.
Well, they fucked it up.
They did.
They killed a goose.
They did.
And now
Stuck with this.
fucking shit.
What Moss does is position himself as an ally who understands the same anguish Aaron now is experiencing while he actively pushes the narrative that Mitch and Murray are the real enemies, and that someone should break into the office to steal the leads as an act of revenge.
Someone should hurt them, Mitch and Murray.
Someone should hurt them?
Yeah.
How?
Someone should do something to hurt them where they live.
What?
Someone should rob the office.
But when he discloses more info on the assignment, this puts Aaron now completely off of entertaining the thought.
It's a big decision and it's a big reward. $2,500 and a job. It's a big reward for one night's work.
The thing is that it's got to be tonight. What? The leads ain't gonna leave? They bring those leads up there, wave under your nose. Tomorrow they're taking them downtown, parcel them out, and the guy wants those leads. He's gonna have to go get them tonight.
So you're saying you gotta go in there tonight and...
You.
I'm sorry?
You have to go in. You have to get the leads.
I do.
I took you in on this. You have to go. It's your thing.
Not only does Moss suffer from the same flaw of being too talkative like Levene, there's also his toothless mean streak.
Roma, so on, so gifted.
Gifted my ass! Guy gets a string of luck.
No, not.
From the pot shots he throws at Blake, they're easily reflected back at him when Blake displays his wealth.
What's your name?
Fuck you! That's my name. You know why, mister? Because you drove a Hyundai to get here tonight. I drove an $80,000 BMW. That's my name.
Boss. You're such a hero. You're so rich. How come you're coming down here and waste your time with such a bunch of bums?
You see this watch? That watch costs more than your car. I made $970,000 last year. How much you make? You see, pal, that's who I am, and you're nothing.
And the only reason he could even afford Aaron Now's silence is from leveraging the idea that he'll get sent to jail too just for listening to the plan.
It's in or out. You tell me. You're out, you take the consequences.
I do?
That's right.
And why is that?
Because you listen.
As much as Moss likes to speak up like he's a proletarian hero, he's nothing more than an opportunistic coward. How he goes about setting up the break-in should be evidence enough. Letting his co-conspirator do the deed while he stows away at an inn, so whenever the police investigation happens, his alibi checks out. But his anger climaxes the next day after the police releases him from his interrogation session. One, he hears Levene talk about his sale. He doesn't want to hear about another man's success, so he shuts it down.
Yeah, he closed the deal.
8 units out.
You did that?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
And two, Roma dismissed his question about the contracts being swiped.
Why? Why don't I get the opportunities?
Did they steal the contracts?
Fuck you, kid.
Harriet, I want to tell you something.
Fuck's that supposed to mean?
The fact Roma can go about talking the way he does because his name is on the top of the board sets him off.
Come in the fucking office today, get humiliated by some jag-off cop. I get accused of... I get this shit thrown in my face by you genuine shit, because your top name on the board?
Ultimately, he leaves the office, implying this is the last time he'll be setting foot in the facility. Angered with Williamson's indifference, listening to the verbal abuse disguised as training from Blake, and being inundated with the presence of success that offends him, he felt justified to go on his personal crusade against the world.
You get befuddled by a middle-class morality. Get shut of it. Shut it out.
Richard Roma is the shark at Premier Properties. He possesses the charisma necessary to do his job when compared to Levene's old-fashioned car salesman pitches, Moss's faux domineering stature to strong-arm an appointment, or Aronow's inability to close at all. When he's first introduced, he makes a comment about the extreme heat and how cooling down with alcohol isn't the best idea.
For they say it dehydrates you.
The comment was meant to entice anyone within the earshot to join in on the conversation, which is the net he uses to catch his fish. And the fish he catches is James Link, a put-upon man who feels restricted in his existence. The main objective for the salesman is to identify what type of customer they're speaking to, meaning they have to parse out their personality traits, what they are lacking, and how the salesman can satisfy it. Which puts Roma in the driver's seat to lead Link down the road to closing because he's dealing with a weak-willed man who feels he has little to no control over the choices in his life. Considering what's needed for his line of work, Roma's a cut above the rest. He blows his colleagues out of the water when it comes to his sales numbers, and he's the most easygoing member of the team, which makes his interactions with customers a cakewalk. Granted, he has to booze them up first, but that goes without saying. He poses as a wise sage, dispensing otherworldly advice to the aimless Mr. Link, selling him the ambiguity of choice.
I'm saying, what is our life? Our life is looking forward or it's looking back. That's it. That's our life. Where's the moment?
Roma's pitch wasn't the Glengarry Highlands. If that were the case, Mr. Link would just turn his nose away. Instead, he targeted Link's insecurity, his choicelessness, primed him to be in the mindset of choosing, and it just so happens he had the Glengarry Highlands to sell on the side. Although the first half of the film builds up Roma as the ideal salesman, ideal is not synonymous with perfect. Things begin to crumble when the next day he finds the office in shambles. Phones gone, contracts taken, and the Glengarry lead stolen, which means all of his contracts except for his most recent close have vanished. Not only that, Mr. Link, by request of his wife, wants to renege on the sale or else he calls the state attorney. This angers Roma not only because all of his hard work was for naught, he's essentially in the same position as his colleagues. And because he is down to their level, he begins parroting the same issues with the office, the lack of support from Williamson and the leads being subpar.
I'm giving you 3 leads. 3? No, I count 2. Just 3 leads there.
Patel, fuck you. Fucking Shiva handed this guy $1 million, told him sign the deal. He wouldn't sign. And the god Vishnu too into the bar. Fuck you, John. You know your business, I know mine. Your business being an asshole.
Knowing he has only one sale and is in risk of losing it means everything inside the kitchen sink comes out to keep it alive. He improvises a conversation with Levene, acting as a different customer so he can leave the office to dodge Mr. Link. He attempts to lead Mr. Link astray about policy and ultimately tries to talk his customer off a cliff and back to his side. But his hopes are dashed when Williamson tells Mr. Link his check went out, losing his only sale.
You, Williamson, I'm talking to you, shithead. You just cost me $6,000. $6,000 and 1 Cadillac. That's right. What are you gonna do about it?
In spite of Roma being on top, he desperately resorted to cheap and deceptive tactics in order to keep his boat afloat.
Those of you who are interested in a continuing job with this organization, get to work.
When a salesperson experiences an excessive amount of pressure on their day-to-day work routine, corners will be cut. Levene had to beg, bargain, and eventually steal to take care of his daughter's medical bills and regain his lost confidence. Moss's anger towards his place of work led him to plan on ransacking the place as an act of revenge. And Roma, regardless of his general success as a salesman, when the chips are down, he'll throw caution out the wind to finish the job. The only guarantee in this line of work is that the phone won't dial itself. But hey, what do I know? Thank you for watching the video. Give us a like and subscribe to the channel for more content. Click on the bell to be notified on future uploads. Share the video around the internet, and again, thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one.